So this is day, oops. Oh my God. This is, I'm gonna put it there, even though you can't see my head, but that's okay. So it's official day, well, it's full day 2, but it's technical day 3. Welcome back. It is 12:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is Saturday, October 13th, 2018. It is Cassette Store Day. We are heading to Subway to run an errand of description. I knew that was going to happen. Just fucking knew. It's like a punishment.
We don't want you to have money. It's like a little crevasse, like see the line right there?
There, the crevasse. Fill it with your mighty juice. So, yeah, we're heading to the Subway to run an errand. And then after that, Marie Callender's.
Marie Callender's.
And we're gonna go have a breakfast at the West Coast's equivalent to Perkins that I have not been to for 4 years. Exactly 4 years. Yesterday, after Shakey's, because we ordered pizza and Mojos, but their Mojos are just like flat, like almost like a chip, and our Mojos are like potato wedges. Anyway, no one gives a shit. But since there's only gonna be one person ever watching this video, that's okay. Maybe 2. 2's a pipe dream. Then we stopped by the Circle K, and I was introduced to Mad Dog 2020. And we all got inebriated beyond reasonable doubts. And it was a competition. First, Karen knocked the fuck out. She was just like lively. She's like, yo, yeah, woo! And then all of a sudden, boom! She was done, and then that was it. Stone cold dead. And then Zach was like, you're a punk ass bitch. You're gonna go down first. And I'm like, no, fuck you, scum, Nazi scum. And I put my foot in his face, and he's like, get that fucking thing out of my face. And then other fabricated stories that didn't happen, but then who wound up being the punk bitch, Zach? Who wound up going second to last? Oh,
we
yeah.
all know the truth. You can tell people what you want.
Truth.org. No, I wanted to sleep, so I let him win.
I remember I was telling you a story about, you were telling me about your work and about like the protocol you have for like not selling alcohol to minors.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. About not selling alcohol to minors, and like how you have to judge whether or not they're drunk to sell to them. Yeah. And like some other stuff. Mm-hmm. That you have like the secret people come in like pretending to be minors, and and I would mention to you that like, oh, we have those secret people that come in too, and it's kind of whatever, but they the difference being that we can sell to people who are drunk. There's no real like repercussions for us selling to drunk people. Oh wow. It's just like, well, it's America, you know, excess.
Not to mention they just pull out a gun and go, well, this is where you're wrong, Chief.
Oh, let me just go inside and ask.
But, the funny thing is, right as I'm telling that story, I also told you a story about why I quit that job. And, while I'm telling the story, mm-hmm. You're like this, and you're like, and then you go like really far back like this, and you would come forward, Sometimes you'd be like totally asleep, and I'm like saying a bunch of stuff to you, and I know you're not listening, but I was just like, I'm winning. And I would keep telling
What
my
the
story.
fuck?
I would keep telling my story so as to be like, I tried everything I could to keep him awake. I kept telling him the story, but he fell asleep.
What the fuck? Okay, what happened? Why did what was the story then?
It was about my fucking coworker who would like come in like an hour late every night because she worked the subway during the day, and then she worked the 4th shift, the midnight to 6 a.m. every day at my work, and I would work midnight to 6 p.m. or no 6 p.m. to midnight, and so I'd be waiting there at midnight, and like she wouldn't show up, or like she'd come an hour early and park her car outside and go to sleep in her car, and then like she wouldn't come in for like hours, and it wasn't like the best neighborhood, so we were supposed to like lock the doors at 9 and like only go through the window and not go outside for any reason. If we're caught on the camera going outside, it'd be like our ass.
Yeah.
And so like the frustrating thing was like,
You're like, our phones aren't working? I'm like, nope.
she would make me go outside to wake her up just so I could fucking switch shifts with her. And like I would call my boss and be like, what am I supposed to do? Like, she's
Hi, I just checked right now. They didn't even know that their phones weren't working, but I let them know, and they said you started at 7 today.
I was like, holy shit, you know? And the straw that broke the camel's back, which is the reason why I quit, is because on New Year's Day 2017, my Karen and my parents came to like say Happy New Year because I got out like at midnight, right? Well, she was at like a party or something. My parents and Karen were waiting like outside in the cold. It was a rainy day, mind you, also.
Yeah.
She's kind of chubby.
They're waiting outside in the cold, and she showed up an hour late. So like I just had to be on like the other side of the glass for like an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she shows up and she has like glitter on her face. She's dressed like all nice, and she's like her breath fucking smells like booze. and she's like, hey Zach, Happy New Year. I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. Like, really?
Oh, and then I was like outside waiting.
You were there, yeah.
Yeah, I like spent New Year's like on the other side of the window.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, Happy New Year's my ass, dude. Like, you kept my family waiting out in the cold, and like, and it's not like, oh, sorry, I didn't know your family was gonna be here. It's like, because it's irrelevant either way. You should have been there when your shift was supposed to start.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You wouldn't have even have to worry about like whether or not you kept my family waiting out there if you just did your job.
Yep.
And she shows up with like the glitter on her face, all dressed in like this nice blouse, like she just came from like a disco party or some stupid shit.
Wow.
She's like, hey Zach, Happy New Year. I'm like, fuck you. I'm like, you're always late and you never get written up. And then she would fucking come to work, and she would just sleep the whole night through the whole shift. There would be like people that would come to the window like on camera and like knock, and she would be like literally sitting right in front of them asleep, and she wouldn't wake up, and we would lose business.
Wow.
And then like sometimes there was like a bunch of stuff you had to do during the night shift, like you had to restock well, you had to restock the freezers, and then you had to mop the floors and clean the bathrooms and like restock the ice in the fountain drink machine. And make like ice bags and wrap them and put them in the freezer.
Yeah.
Oh wow, jeez. Thank you. And she would just go to sleep and leave all that shit undone, and then like our boss would be like, we're a team, like this is a team place. And I was like, okay. So a lot of the time the shit that she would leave undone wouldn't get finished by anyone during the day, because the reason why she does it at night is because it's not busy. And so people would be like trying to do it during the day, and they'd be all frustrated, and I'd come in and be like, hey Ryan, how's it going? And he'd be like, well, I've been trying to make ice bags because Nadia didn't do last night, Nydia didn't do last night. And then like as I would come into my shift, I'd realize there's even more things that weren't done, and like I'd have to do them as well, and that kept happening, but she would never get written up, and it like blew my mind. Whereas like I would do like something small, like I would show up like 20 minutes late or something and I'd get a write-up, but like she would do all this fucked up stuff and not get write-ups because my boss was like, oh, like who are we gonna get to replace her? Like I don't know anyone else who will work graveyard. Like if I write her up a bunch, she'll leave, and then I don't know what to do. I'm like,
bitch, you write me up a bunch, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
You're gonna be double. You're gonna be worse off.
And then I did leave.
Yeah, so good.
But
I fucking hate when people say it's a team effort when it's clearly not, and then it's like, it's like, okay, then team leader, why don't you fucking tell the other people the same fucking thing?
Yeah.
Don't even talk to me about some minor thing I did when these major things are going unnoticed.
And the funny thing is that she once did like approach Nydia about like being her showing up late, like, Nydia, like you can't fall asleep on the job, this and that, and she gave her like all kinds of attitude and like yelled at her. And my boss is like this timid little like Hispanic woman, like 5'2" or something, like overweight, named Patricia, like with glasses and like really curly hair, you know, like the I don't know, like this stereotype hair, like, and so like Nydia would always like yell at her when she would like tell her to do something different, and so like she was actually afraid of saying anything to her.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so it was like, I forget what happened. Oh, the other thing was that Nydia like got cold too easy, so she would try to convince me to stock the freezer during my shift, which doesn't really work because there are too many people that come up to the window and you can't really see the window from the inside of the freezer, which is why she was supposed to do it. Like from midnight to 6 a.m. there's like hardly any people. You could just stock the freezer, no problem.
Yeah.
But when I first got there, she's like, oh, why don't you stock the freezer on your shift and I'll stock the outside freezers that you're supposed to do on your shift on my shift. And I was like, oh, that sounds fine, because I like the freezer or whatever. And then like soon after I got like a write-up because I wasn't, like when I had first gotten there, soon after I got a fucking write-up because it was like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that, like that's Nydia's job. I'm like, okay then.
I'd be like, first of all, if you're writing me up because I was doing work, I'm gonna take this write up and give it to you in a suppository pill.
The fucked up thing was just that they started cutting my hours because of the write up I got.
What the fuck?
And like they still wouldn't cut her hours. Like she was just like lord of the slum.
Too bad you weren't in the union. You could have just went and said, hey, guess what these piece of shits are doing?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to Marie Callender's now. Calendars. I don't know why I keep saying Callenders. So.
I have an idea for somewhere we should take you, but we'll do it after this.
All right. Keep you posted.